Hello, my name is Katsusuke Shigeta at Hokkaido University, Japan. Today, I'd like to introduce the digital literacy OER we developed with the collaboration of ArtV Inc. Japan. What is digital literacy? Since the 1990s, I'm interested in the various competencies needed to live in a digital society. In other words, digital literacy has continued to increase. UNESCO defines digital literacy as follows. Digital literacy is the ability to access, manage, understand, integrate, communicate, evaluate, and create information safely and appropriately through digital technologies for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. It refers to our ability to use digital technologies to manage, understand, integrate, communicate, evaluate, and create the information we access on a day-to-day basis. It includes competencies that are variously referred as computer literacy, ICT literacy, information literacy, and media literacy. UNESCO proposes Digital Literacy Global Framework, which provides an index to help organize different countries' digital literacy education goals. Also, it divides digital literacy skills into 7 main categories. In previous research on digital literacy, including the DLGF above, it has become clear that the primary skills needed for digital literacy on a global scale are critical thinking, creative problem solving, and collaborative skills. Our goal in developing this OER is provide education on digital literacy to first-year university students. We hope to do so by creating OER to be used as introductory material for educators teaching digital literacy and for the learners who wish to learn the basic principles behind the topic. The OER will provide an education in media literacy and improved critical thinking skills by walking through the creative process involved in digital content creation. We will focus mainly on teaching design thinking to help students solve problems during the creative process. Well, I'll talk about the design, conception, and development of OER for digital literacy. Here is an overview of our research and practice for developing the OERs. Firstly, we create the concept of OER development. Secondly, we explain the overall outlook for OER and concrete ideas. Firstly, we explain the challenges facing digital literacy education. We have 3 challenges. The first one is how broad the vocabulary is. When creating learning materials, it is essential to define what skills we want students to obtain. However, digital literacy includes various literacies and thus very broad in scope. The second issue is that of the constraints. Digital literacy education typically takes the approach of having students learn by actually creating content. However, because curriculums have the time constraints, it is essential to think about balancing learning and practice. Third, it is essential to teach students how to use or control digital media and teach them about information design. Solving these issues, we firstly surveyed an existing class. We surveyed an introductory course on digital creation class in a university held by ArtV Inc. Japan for developing the concept. We observe the class and conduct reflection meetings with the lecturer. The lecturer shows demos how experts think about and give appropriate goals and learning support that fit participants in the class. After the survey, we found a way to approach these issues mentioned previously by developing OERs. For the challenges of vocabulary, we focus on research and study skills. We set goals for using visual expressions and digital tools, investigate learning and problem solving to improve communication skills. For the challenges of time constraints, we introduce blended learning. Learners use OERs to obtain basic concepts and knowledge and increase time for hands-on learning. Regarding information design, we introduce to learn design thinking. Design thinking is critical for problem solving. We create a curriculum for learners who are not specialists in design. So this is the concept of the developed OERs. As a structure of OERs, we make modulated learning units. We developed 4 modules that match with the design process. In the first module, we help students understand how to use our resources to learn. In the second module, students will learn about observing, analyzing, and evaluating the interactions between users and digital products. In the third module, students will learn how to use the design thinking process to solve problems. Finally, in the fourth module, students will use Adobe software to learn how to use digital tools to achieve visual communication. Finally, I'd like to introduce one section of the second module. In this section, students will learn to discover the various functions that make up the digital products they use in the day-to-day lives. Hiroaki will explain the details.
Hello. These resources are designed thus that students are given a key question to answer at the beginning and end of each lesson. This helps students see the difference in how they were before the lesson, when they hadn't learned anything, and how they are after finishing the lesson and studying the topic. Hence, to start, students begin with consider the following section and answer the key question by using the Google Forms sheet provided here. After answering the quick question, they move on to what is a function. They try to press on the play button on the video, but it does not play. Students are then faced with 2 questions. Why did you understand the situation the way you did? And what led you to click on the video? This can help students understand the way that signs are able to influence human actions. This case can also help students understand what a function is. It serves as a starting point to enter into the topic of the relation between human users and functions. Additionally, in order to help students understand what functions are, they are taught the fundamental principles of interaction. Finally, we ask students to think things through one more time and respond to the same question that they answered at the beginning of the lesson. At this time, it is important that students become aware of any changes in their vocabulary or perspective that may have come about during the lesson.
Finally, I will talk a bit about our plans for these resources. We are currently translating Japanese resources into English for global usage. We have already conducted the first year university students class using the OER as supplemental material in this academic year at Hokkaido University. We had positive feedback from students. This experience will be a basis for the continued development and improvement. We are planning open MOOCs to use the OERs with affiliated universities. Also, we are planning to use the OERs for K-12 education in the Hokkaido area. Thanks for your watching.